Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett. I'm still poorly. The Reds are still shit. But with me to go through a win and a defeat, Ajax and Leeds. I do have my namesake, our data collection analyst and video analyst, Mr. Daniel Rhodes. Good evening, Rhodesy.
Evening, Dan. I'm currently situated around where they used to film the Game of Thrones, just outside Belfast.
Nice.
It is nice. Unfortunately, I also had to watch the Leeds game here, which wasn't.
Have you been to the Giants Causeway?
No, not yet.
Oh,
I might mention that tomorrow.
Oh, it's meant to be unbelievable. It's like the bucket list thing. You know, if you're going to go to Northern, you've got to do the Giants Causeway.
Oh well, I'll mention it.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't have Phil this week. He is also away, and Gags is in Vegas as well. So Rhodesy at least dialing in from his holidays. What a loser! Sorry, Rhodesy. But I do have the money man. It's Mr. Simon Brundish. Good evening, Si.
Evening, boys. It's usually just us when the dross is beating us, me and you. But
Rhodesy can't get away from it this time. Yeah, this time. So he's come to
say.
I've had 8 hours with 2 kids in a science museum. I'm not going to say this is
right. So we're going to spend a bit of time looking at Ajax, and then a little bit more time looking at Leeds, and then asking some pretty big searching questions towards the end. So, Si, I'm going to start with you, mate. Another game, another new formation. I mean, this time we lined up in a diamond. Do you want to just give us a quick overview of what the textbook says about playing a diamond?
So typically you would have the screen, the defensive 6, whatever, and then you would have 2 fairly equally distributed attacking defensive shuttlers either side. And if you play FIFA, I think this was quite a wide diamond. So those guys were also in charge. They were playing inverted, running outside of the wide attackers, theoretical wide attackers that weren't. That Mo and Nunes played quite narrow, and I think Bobby was instructed to cover the space, to get in space wherever he can, but also in a way I've not seen for 4 or 5 years, was instructed to use space out wide. So theoretically, we would leave 2 in midfield, and then one 8 would go wide, and Bobby would go wide if that was the opportunity, if the fullbacks weren't there. So it was quite a fluid, flexible. It was quite an intense new system for some of our boys. So given that we've created this, we went to the 4-4-2 to reduce the running load on our lads. This was quite a significant change on that. So the 10 had to do an awful lot of running. The wide 8s had to do a ton of running, and the fullbacks had more running than they usually do as well. So it was quite a big change, and it worked. There was lots of running in this game.
Who benefits then? Which positions benefit from the diamond?
In
terms of like less physical, because one of the things we surmised was that we changed the 4-4-2 to reduce the stress on most players, physical stress on most players in the 11. Do any of them benefit from the diamond? Or
No, because I think the idea between 4-4-2 is much more compact, and the team moves up and down together, but it never gets quite high enough together, and it doesn't drop that deep together. So much more of a midline. And with these guys, there's much more horizontal movement across the pitch. So Henderson had much greater surface area to cover. So he was basically everything on the from the halfway line all the way up top angle of the pitch from the center circle on the left hand side, and Elliot had that on the right hand side. So everybody had really big areas to cover. So yeah, I don't think this was about mitigating playing loads or negating any actual physical demands of the game. I think this was a tactical way of wedging in Nunez and Salah together now, because we've got two strikers and we don't have anybody that plays wide. Theoretically, I'm not entirely sure that's true. But we've decided that Nunez, Firmino and Salah can't play in the 4-3-3 anymore.
Yeah. So, because ostensibly the 4-diamond-2, there's not a million miles away from our traditional 4-3-3, really, in some ways. But,
I think the biggest difference is Bobby's role.
Right.
Yeah. That Bobby was deeper and Bobby was much more free to, well, I don't know if it was free as in he can go wherever he likes, but he was much more mobile. He had to cover much wider areas of the pitch than he usually does. So typically, if we think of how Liverpool play with Mane back in the team, there'll be interchange between Bobby and Mane, and they'll play central and then in the left half space. And occasionally they'll go wide, but usually that was filled by Robbo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this way, Bobby was right across both touchlines.
Yeah.
You never see that. So the actual physical demands on Bobby were massive.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting, because to go to later stuff in the pod that we discussed, I was going through numbers today because you asked me, and Bobby covered the most distance in the team 2 seasons.
Wow.
So he covered the most distance in the team for 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Which 2 seasons?
18-19 and 17-18.
Wow. So in
19-20 and 17-18.
So he covered more than midfielders. Wow.
Yeah. But they rotated.
True.
And the forwards.
Oh, so not per match. So this is
no.
Right,
just total over the course of the season. I'm just talking from, there's that fatigue thing that we talk about. All the time. So he's so because he's fit, he ends up doing more running than everybody else.
Yeah. So, Rhodesy, I guess the good news is that we qualified. We got the result we needed. Was it a deserved win? Give us that much summary.
A few things. Just touching on what Si says there, and I think this is a game where we probably should have been 2-0 down by the time we scored our first goal. Yeah. They had 2 big chances, 1 non-penalty XG, 11 shots, 8 shots in the box. But obviously we scored from a counter-attack and a set piece and a wide angle where the keeper made a big mistake for Elliot's goal. And I don't know if it's right, but I think the more dominant match summary is probably the Leeds game where we lost. So it's just a weird distribution.
Considering Ajax are in the top 10s of most club ranking models and we're away from home, you're not going to maybe expect a dominant win. And plus, I'd argue that the stats line of this match was better than the previous visit to Ajax. I think when we conceded 5 big chances in that one, and we had that unbelievable clearance off the line from Milner to keep it at 1-0.
We did. Well, the non-penalty XG in this game across the models, and now obviously we've got a different model for StatsBomb, now Opta's model, which we didn't have before. But it was 1.5 to 1 in our favour, 13 shots to 11, 10 shots in the box to 8, 5 shots on target to their 2. Obviously, their 2 big chances, one of them hit the post and one of them was blocked by Trent. But again, it's game state, Dan. So how many times have we conceded first this season, and they have a massive big chance in the 4th minute, and then they have another big chance before we have our first in the 17th or 20th minute or something like that.
Yeah.
And they don't take it, they don't convert either of them. So it just makes a huge difference on the game. Had they scored that, then we might not have even got through in the championship.
Yeah, and it was like it's a big moment, really, wasn't it, when you think about it, Rhodesy? Because we got really unlucky with the deflection. Was it off Fabinho or to into behind it? Basically wrong-footed the entire defence. Then he rammed it against the post.
There was a double press from Trent and Elliott in the corner by the corner flag, and they still managed to pass through that. And then the next ball got a slight deflection to Brobe, and he just did a little nice layoff for Berghaus, who just hit the post. Yeah, he should score. Yeah.
Looking from the behind the goal, though, I mean, Ali made it really hard.
It did look like Alisson. If it had been inside the post, it looked like Ali would have probably saved it. But how often has he done that this season? And how often?
Yeah. I know it's a while ago, Si, so you might have total recall. But do you remember the behind the goal view of the Alisson dive for the shot that hit the post?
Yes, I just watched it.
Do you think he had it covered? Just about, maybe.
I thought he had it covered. Yeah, it looked sexy, but I thought he had it covered.
Yeah, so that's why the guy was literally trying to have to stick it right in the corner, wasn't he, to avoid Alisson, and then he misjudged slightly. Yeah,
and if he'd have hit it on the other side, it would have hit Virgil's foot, I think. Virgil's in the way for the other half of the goal, so it looks like it's an open goal, but it's not. Ali's brilliant.
Yeah, there's also the Tadic big chance comes from what looks like a foul on Van Dijk from Brobe that gets the ball, and then Gomez challenges and it deflects back into his path, and they've got a 4-on-3, and then he cuts it across the area, and then Trent manages to cover right back and gets a block in.
Yeah. Was Alisson out of position on that when he blocked it, or was Alisson out of position, or was?
No, I think Alisson's right. He's covering the correct angles, but Trent's slightly to the right of him, and that's where the shot's going, and it just comes back off Trent.
Yeah. So I'm going to put it to you then, Rhodesy, that this was a reasonably close match on in the stats profile, but the difference, it was decided by finishing. On this occasion, Ajax missed a couple of chances, and we had some good finishes in this match.
Yes, well, I did the pressing as well for this game. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do the Leeds game, but I thought until our goal in this first 30 minutes of this was really bad pressing. There was a lot of fails, more than I can remember in the first half an hour. Maybe that's getting used to the formation.
Yeah.
But Ajax were quite easily passing it around us, and it was quite worrying watching it on the replay. But if you get a goal, this is what I mean. If you get the first goal, Ajax then have to do something different because they have to beat us to go through. And I don't know how many times we have to bang on about this season, but game state is such a crucial factor.
It is.
We get the first goal and then get the second goal pretty early from a set piece, and absolutely controlled it. There was nothing else. Nothing happened after about 55, 60 minutes.
No, which was quite nice in a way.
It was, yes.
So Si, one thing I did want to put to you, though, this game was we touched on at the end of the last pod after Jurgen said that the Ajax game would be like having a holiday because it was the luxury of game day +4 for the first time since Man City. And we did respond with quite a big physical performance, 118k, right?
Yeah. You can't argue with that. There's a lot of running going on in the game. Though I'm still a little bit, I would be questioning the actual data because the maths don't add up. If you add up the players' numbers, so it said 119 and no player in our side got more than 9.8 kilometres.
So unfortunately, the UEFA don't give the breakdown of the players anymore on the site. They only the. So do you getting this from a special source? Should we say so?
No, not at all. BT Sport.
Oh, BT Sport.
BT Sport give you the breakdown, and literally they gave you the team totals and the breakdown of the. They don't give you goalkeepers. So our goalkeeper would have had to make 13 kilometres.
Yeah.
And a big number for a goalie is 5.5.
Yeah.
So the numbers added up to 113 and a half.
Yeah.
And that's the team total said 119. So
yeah,
I'm
well,
not sure.
The team total's been downgraded slightly now to 118.3. I just checked on UEFA.com before, so we're maybe there's a story.
A little spurious.
Yeah, so the 118 for us, and then 118 for Ajax as well in this match. So, but as Rosie said, that opening period wasn't particularly convincing. Si, I mean. We struggled really to get. How did you see? Did you just see it as a struggling to adjust with the system?
Yeah, 100%. I think we're in a moment now where there is no unconscious movement. It's always conscious. There is lots of talking. There is lots of thinking. There is lots of second thinking about where we're going to be. We are going into space. We're finding a space or looking to move into a space, but then also looking at who they should be marking constantly. And when we're attacking, we're going into a space, but then the timing of that going into space is off because the point is to arrive in space at the right time, not to stand in space. And it's all a bit incoherent, I think. So
what happened to muscle memory, Si?
Yeah. Well, you rehearse for 6 years doing something, so you're this one cohesive unit that works unconsciously, and it allows you to play so much faster because you know exactly where it is. If you look at this game, but also the next game, how many times the ball was played to somebody that wasn't there?
Right.
So under pressure, you're going to be more under pressure with the ball than if you haven't got the ball. You're going to make an autonomous decision, and so you're going to pass to something you know, and that thing you thought you knew no longer exists. So we were passing. It was weird. Some of the passes in the last two games are weird in that they were not even directed. They were like 5 meters or more further away from one of our players, and that's just weird. If you think back to the great sides, to the flowing sides, it's always the ball is just ahead of somebody that's just arriving on it.
Yeah, and what you're saying now is we're still playing those balls, but the players aren't in those positions, or they're either stood static or they're not even close to it.
Yeah, because what they're doing is not they're thinking. That's what they're doing, and thinking takes time.
It does, yeah. Split second side, but still time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's 10 meters, that you can run 10 meters in 1.2 seconds. So half a second and the ball's 5 meters away from you, you look like a twat, but it was a half second thought.
Yeah. And as me and Dan know from, and you as well, so I know from watching cricket, split seconds make a massive difference in decision making and shot selection and all sorts. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything's basically it's forced. Si. Yeah. It's
forced. It's
almost like the Roy Hodgson players to get tied together on a piece of string, almost. Yeah, that level.
I think that's a good analogy. But that's actually opposite. Is that he tied them to a string until they didn't have to think anymore, and they were always they moved on a string constantly. And if you then go right, I want you to then overlap. So I want you fullback to overlap 4 times a game in this situation when the ball is there.
Yeah,
the player will constantly go, "Is it that situation yet? Is it that? Should I be going?" That's what happens.
So everybody's second guessing themselves.
Exactly. Then you get the 6 going. Is he going to run? Do I need to cut? Am I going to need to go over to cover for him?
Yeah.
And then the 8 is going. Should I be tucking for the 6 here, or should I be making the run outside the? And
just to reinforce what you're saying, just to reinforce what you're saying, this was game day +4. But how many training sessions did we have with the Diamond?
1 full rest training session. 1
training session to try to practice a new system. It doesn't seem ideal to me.
So what would have happened is that there will be walkthroughs. So if you go back to that thing I'm talking about, synchronization,
chalkboards and stuff,
there will be like the NFL. There'll be literally in this position, like you're playing FIFA or chess. So you'll stand in the setup structural positions on the pitch, right? This is where you're going to be. and they'll play like you'll probably have a defense against your heart or different unit on the pitch, and they'll literally walk. The ball's come in here. We want you to come over here. The ball, and once the ball's there, where do you go? You go over that, and then you, the fullback, go there, and then the 6 drops in there, and like literally they will talk through it. So this is bombarding of information on fatigued players, with no time to rehearse.
Yeah.
It would be, if you could sit down with any elite manager, the time of year you would change systems, the least favorable time of year to change systems would be during Christmas. And we're during double Christmas right now.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I think it's fair to say that from the outsiders, if you were an outsider looking at Liverpool right now, you'd have to conclude that the club was panicking. It was desperately searching for solutions, because we've tried the same thing for six, 7 years, pretty much unchanged, and we must be we're changing systems and formations every other week, and it doesn't look clever, does it? And it's a big flashing warning light to anybody observing Liverpool that there's something major wrong, isn't it?
Just the last thing before because this is a stat show as analysts. So the last thing I would question in this area would be when Klopp walked into Liverpool, everybody had instant respect, instant credibility, and everybody trusted him because he knew the answers. Tactically, he had this way of playing, whether we knew what that way was or not, everybody, fans, owners, but players he knew exactly what he wanted from every player on the pitch. So they had innate trust in him implicitly from the first second. Does that look like what's going on right now?
No, the opposite.
It's the confidence is a little flower metaphor, isn't it? It's been trampled on.
Just a word though, Dan. I thought collecting the press in, there were some positive parts about the diamond, and it seemed like Elliott and Trent and Moore was dropping off onto the right. We were able to group press more. I found that there were more group pressing within this.
Yeah, I think I put all the data viz in the under pressure chat on Discord already, and I did remark, Rhodesy, that it looks a lot more like a traditional pressing viz. It looks like some of our older ones, So there were some good signs, like you say. Maybe it did allow, and there was a lot in both half spaces, in our own half and in the attacking third as well. So there was more.
It's quite an even balance between each thirds as well.
The spacing was okay. The pressing chain was way down yet again. So it was mostly solo, but there were some chains in those areas, like you said.
What I thought was
in the wide areas.
From collecting it down, what I thought I saw was there was lots of group pressing, so you'd get sometimes 3 players going to one of the Ajax players to try and close them down, but then nothing backing it up. So you wasn't getting the chains. And then when individuals were doing it, you wasn't getting any backup. But the fact that we had kind of an even distribution across the 3 zones and quite an intense level of pressing.
Yeah, the intensity was pretty decent. I mean, 223 is like we talked about before, like 119k on the distance, 223 presses. You can't fault the players for intensity and effort in this match.
Yeah, but the first 20, 25 minutes, there was. It felt like to me, I don't know what the numbers are, and I probably should have checked this, but it felt like about 50-50 in terms of fails and successful presses. And to me, that's players getting used to a new setup, a new formation, where they constantly try to put pressure on someone, but there's no one backing them up because they don't know where they're supposed to be. And they kind of picked it up as the match wore on, and then obviously. Once we get 1-2 goals ahead, it's then dead easy to use possession and then press as a more compact unit, as a 4-diamond-2, because you don't need to attack. So I thought we were pressing high in the first 20, 30 minutes with a lot of fails and a lot of incoherent positioning. And then suddenly, once we got the goals, we could just then more sit back, and then it was more mid to lower third pressing. But that kind of how the evolution felt collecting it.
Nice. Just a final one on the pressing, Rhodesy. I put a tweet out from our Twitter account on this already. I called it a coming of age performance for Harvey Elliott in terms of the pressing.
Yes, excellent.
So we had the volume and he had the production from it as well. So Harvey's quite often been quite a high volume, intense presser, but mostly just like pushbacks. But this game he had the full package, Rosie. He had the volume. His possession adjusted was 45.1, which is really good. That's not many players get over 40 possession adjusted in a match. The efficiency was great from him as well. 89% and 11 high value, including 4 direct wins. We've never seen that really with Harvey having the direct possession wins. So we just a quick word. And also, sorry, the last final thing, he supported his fullback in defensive zones, and he supported Salah and pressing in the right half space as well, and on the attacking side.
Yeah, those are the two important things. The two heat maps, his heat map shows two important zones with red elements to it. One is the group presses with Trent, which is just inside our own half. So Trent was coming and Elliott was supporting, and then he was going with more. But I think the key to this one is he was pressing Danny Blind, who Blind was always trying to pass it. He was always looking to pass it along the floor to one of his opponents, to one of his players. Whereas Elliott has been pressing people this season, as you saw with Leeds, or as you saw with other teams this season in the Premier League, and they're just going long.
Yeah.
So there was fails against Leeds. I was watching the Leeds game again today, and there was just fails because he's pressing someone. He's pressing someone in the same position that Danny Blind was in, and the Leeds player is just going over him to another Leeds player because he's not getting the backup. Whereas Danny Blind's trying to thread a pass to somebody. So it just depends. You can press well, like Elliott did in this game, but if you're pressing someone with a different intention, it makes a big difference to how your pressing numbers are going to come out. Yeah. So Danny Blind was trying to retain possession for Ajax. The Leeds player was trying to get it upfield.
Yeah.
And then if no one's backing up, so if Leeds have got players in space and then the ball is getting to a Leeds player, that goes down as a failed press for Elliott. But he's doing the same thing. It's just a different intention as the player is pressing.
Can I just also add an extra level of context to that? Is that if you look at how Ajax play, how we sometimes have Virgil as a deep line playmaker, or when we've got a lot of the ball, at our best, Mo is our attacking playmaker in attacking third, and he's on one side of the pitch. So if the opposition are going to press, they'll be pressing down that side. Their high pressing would be down that side because he's got lots of players around that way. And he's constrained against a side of the pitch. It's much harder to press somebody in the middle of the pitch. And Daley Blind is obviously right up against the touchline, and they play through Daley Blind. Yeah. So they pass in and out of Daley Blind. So you can it's easier to pin him that way because they want Daley Blind to Tadic, and everybody knows this. And so it's easy to load. If you look at I don't know what that pressing map looks like, but if you look at our out of possession moments, Henderson is tucked into the middle, and Harvey's right over on that side, and everybody is squeezed over to that way. So I wonder if I don't know if this is a beginning of a trend of positive stuff for Harvey, or it's an opportunity thing.
Yeah. Well, just he had 35 in total, and 15 were on Blind, and when he got 5 possession wins from Daley Blind as well. So so he did benefit. His numbers did benefit from that factor for sure.
27% on the right, 22% on the left. So it's quite significant.
Yeah. But So
is this going on YouTube?
No.
Okay.
Si, we scored a really nice goal. I'm going to put it to you, Si, that if you have to look at all Mo Salah's pantheon, this will probably be in the top 20 in terms of the quality.
It was a brilliant goal. I often think this when he scores a brilliant goal, and then you watch LFC TV and see Mo Salah's top 100 goals. He's scored a lot of fucking great goals. He just has. Like, I don't know if there's a big fan than me, and it still surprises me by how many great goals. I wouldn't, when these things are talked about, I'm always like Suarez. Yeah, he's right up there beyond. Barnes' brilliance for me was brilliant as a kid. Gerrard's amazing. I don't know where Salah fits. Yeah, he's great, but and then you see these finishers. Yeah. I'm like, this is the stuff they talk to Robbie Fowler about.
Yeah.
Plus, he's way better than Robbie Fowler.
Yeah. So,
but it was
he'll actually overtake Fowler this
thing.
He actually overtake Fowler this season, won't he? If he continues at this rate. So and Owen and Gerrard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
the ball got dinked. The ball we had one of those slight bits of luck that end up jumping, not jumping, going off the back of one of their dickhead defenders and falling at Henderson's feet. Who he was in one of those really positive moods, which he can be when outside of the left foot don't bother pressing at all.
Outside of the right foot, it was.
Great curling fade outside of the right foot. He did it last season, I think, against Southampton or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was one of Henderson's better passes, and then just an unbelievable dink on the half volley.
Keeper made his mind up for
7 foot over the floor, 7 foot off the floor.
Yeah, the keeper made his mind up for him, but he didn't half execute it well. Wow, the spin was just unbelievable, wasn't it?
But Darth, with respect, I'm not quite sure what he made up his mind. He wasn't on the floor.
No, because he charged out. He could have stayed on his line.
Yeah, but he charged out, and where you're gonna the only way you can beat him with that is to dink it 7 foot over him.
Yeah,
on the half volley.
Yeah, he had to curl it as well.
So
it was it wasn't like a terrible piece of keeping.
There would have been a really interesting parabola if you had to draw that one back in GCSE maths on a chart. The parabola on that ball would have been interesting.
Yeah. It was a proper a sand wedge or something.
Yeah.
I liked how all the commentators, like you're saying, Si, seem to be blaming the keeper, and I'm just like, well, surely it's the reaction to curl it around him, isn't it? The keeper's closing down the angle, and Salah's made a new angle.
Yeah. Now we have to talk about the Darwin's miss, because that I'm so annoyed that didn't go in, because that would have been one of the best team goals we've scored in a long time, right, Rhodesy?
Yes, Nunes. This goes down as a press, leading to a big chance, and it's Nunes that wins.
But the
ball
team
back.
move though before it was brilliant.
Well, Nunes wins the ball back.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it. Nunes wins the ball back. Gomez plays an amazing switch over to Robbo. He cuts inside, dribbles, and plays an absolutely pinpoint pass to Firmino. And I have absolutely no idea why Firmino doesn't shoot, because he's one point blank. But instead, he does the unselfish.
He's on the penalty spot and he chooses to pass.
It's even closer than that. But he chooses instead to just do a perfect setup for Nunes. It's just a tap in. What is he doing?
I know. It's a proper shank, isn't it? Yeah. But to be fair, Rosie, he doesn't let it faze him.
He doesn't seem to let anything faze him, does he?
Can I quickly just jump in and reference Bobby here? Bobby ran 85 meters at full speed from laying the ball off at right back to be the one that did the stupid decision he did.
Nunes won the ball with a press.
Yeah, so then we're saying his brain was fried. That's why he was too tired from sprinting 80 metres. But just on Nunes, Rhodesy, I mean, he didn't take long to shake. I think it was 4 minutes after half time. He was being held, and he basically just I think it was Was it Timber? He basically shrugs him off, get off, and then he just bullets and powers it. It was a proper bull in a China shop stuff, that wasn't it?
It was. I think if you watch it back, there's also a really subtle block by Fabinho to stop. I don't know if it's Broby or Timber.
Yeah.
And in the pressing, I used the wrong name, but it's a guy who they signed from Rangers.
Calvin Bassey.
Yeah, I didn't use his name because Infogol used a different name, but I think it was Calvin Bassett. And Fabinho does a really subtle block to stop him from coming across, and it allows Nunes to get an inch of space. Yeah. He gets ahead of Timber, and it's just a perfect header. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way. That's a good way to react to being held at a set piece, isn't it? That just shrug it off, power it off. Yeah,
it seems to score the tougher chances, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
If he starts converting his big chances.
Yeah. Right. Should we talk about Harvey, Si? That was a really nice goal with his wrong foot.
Yeah. He larped it. It went in. Beautiful.
But I don't know. I thought his right foot was just for standing.
It is. I don't think he had any idea where it was going to go. He just larped it.
Yeah. And it went in the postage stand, didn't it?
We were winning. We were winning that game at that point. It felt like we were going to be winning that game at that point.
Mo assist.
And lovely reverse ball from Mo. Yeah. Worked out nicely.
What is the keeper doing?
Yeah, that was a keeper error, that one, yeah.
The keeper ends up to the left-hand side of the trajectory of the shot, but the ball goes in just inside the post.
Yeah. To be fair, it's really annoying that the keeper made such a holics of it because he would have beaten him wherever he was in the goal. He would have beaten two keepers if there were two keepers.
I'm not sure about that. I thought if the keeper had just stood in line with the shot, it'd have been all right, but he seemed to commit himself too much. It was a lovely shot, and it was, but I'm not convinced about its clinicality.
Yeah. Right, boys. Anything else on Ajax?
Absolutely not. Let's get on to the good stuff, the bad stuff.
Can we just say we keep beating Ajax, we keep beating Rangers, and it looks nice kind of after the game when we've done it. But forget Rangers. The Rangers had their moments in the game against us at Anfield, but like the two Ajax games, we really could have lost both games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
I think the Anfield game. Well, the Anfield game was a lot. It was a close run thing in terms of actually winning it, but I think Ajax had 3 shots in the Anfield game.
Yeah, they're good chances.
Yeah, they had one brilliant finish. Yeah, it was. But like you said, Rhodesy, this was it was an even game decided by finishing.
It was, and yeah, it was, and we had a few of these in seasons where we've absolutely got 97 points, 98 points and stuff. But I think we were fortunate in this one to get the benefit of game state, and that allowed us to then control the game for half an hour when nothing happened. Whereas obviously in a lot of Premier League games this season, we've conceded the first goal and we're then chasing. And then either we come back and get a goal and lose like we did with the Leeds game, as we're going to come on to, or we just can't even get back into it.
Yeah. Right.
With very similar match summaries.
So let's go on to Leeds. Saturday Night Lights. Si, injuries and rotations. Hendo was a doubt for this because he got a knock late on against Ajax, I think.
Yeah, it was a knee, wasn't it? It's knee to knee. You got a bit of a dead leg, I think.
Yeah. So what did we change up?
Well, the weird thing is, before this game, if you remember, in the group, I shared fatigue index with you, and I think we had 4 lads who were we've got 7 lads who are massively over their fatigue index, but we got 4 lads who have specific injury thresholds above which they get injured regularly, and he didn't. Hendo wasn't even one of those flagged, and Hendo was the one in midfield that got dropped, which was an interesting choice. And he was the only one. Hendo for Thiago, so Thiago's coming in.
So it was one change, wasn't it?
Pardon?
It was one change.
Yeah, one change. Yeah,
and it was game day +3.
Game day +3, and he didn't use an awful lot of sub minutes either, which is I don't know. I just find it's interesting how we aren't utilizing the extra legs. But I suppose when the game is in, when you've already made such significant changes in roles of players, expecting more than that, those 11 to know the extra role, the difference in role too, that's just expanding that unknown, isn't it?
Yeah.
And creating more instability. But 80 minutes of subs in the game, it's just, it needs to be well over 100 to mitigate the kind of playing time that the players are in. Like you're talking 120, 130. That's where that's what City are doing right now. They're keeping the same team, but like much higher minutes for the subs.
Yeah. Did you see the Michael Reed Opta tweet about our rotation side?
I did not.
Last season, we had 4.7 lineup changes per game. This season, 3.0. That's a big difference, especially with a more compressed schedule.
Especially with the lack of players. Well,
yeah.
I don't think we could do 4.7 if we wanted to, could we?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so yeah. So
blows my mind a little bit. Yeah, that's a little bit crazy.
So game day +3 side, talk to us about the difference in game day +3 and game day +4.
So physiologically, if you would only played one game and you'd had a week off before, if you played a game, your body would be no, not your body. Like the average footballer will be, their tissues will be almost repaired on game day +3 and will have repaired almost thoroughly on game day +4. Yeah. Their tissues, their neurological system, which is the most underrated thing you get like systemic, you get overtaxed, and then your nerves don't work well. So the nerves are things that largely, in a simplistic way, control how quickly your muscles fire and the connection between your toes and your brain. So that will be a little bit dampened. And that's back to game day +4 is when you can do a full training day, an actual run them around on a pitch, like a proper football training, how you would expect at a grassroots level you would see.
So, and we had a game day +3 match after quite a big effort against Ajax, 119k, and we make one change. Game day
+1 is a recovery day. Game day +2 is an active recovery day to flush the system. And then game day +3 is the beginning of, you would have about 10 or 20% of load on that day.
Yeah. And then we got a match on that day. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then we go in with the one change as well. So, and I think the Sky, I can't remember who the Sky commentator was with Carragher. He's quite a good one, actually. I liked it. Is it Rob Hawthorne? Anyway, he's a good one. And they were talking about the distance and the visible impact of Leeds versus us, as early as 35 minutes into the match. And it was a pretty compelling story, wasn't it? So, I mean, let's just be clear. Leeds under Bielsa and still under Jesse Marsh are the number one team in the league for intensity, aren't they? For distance run, for sprints, everything, right?
Not for distance covered, but they were last season, not this season, but they have the most high speed running distance per game by a considerable distance.
They also top the pressures
to Brentford a second.
They also top the pressures on the stats bomb data, Dan.
Right. So Leeds are an intense team. Yeah.
They press high. It's all about nailing the opposition in the opposition's half as much as possible, high up the pitch.
Yeah.
They are a poor man's version of what we were when Klopp arrived.
Yeah. But I think the damning thing is that Sky were calling it from, say, about 35 minutes into the match, constantly in the second half. And when the figures dropped at full time, I think it's fair to say your jaw hit the floor, Si, when you saw the actual running numbers for the match.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal. Losing by 11 kilometers in a match, and we were over 1,000 meters down on high speed as well. So we were basically playing a man short.
Yeah. And then Leeds had more than double our sprints.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And it wasn't just, it was things like build up, you could see it as well, wasn't it, Si? They're three behind, was it Rodrigo up front? And they had Somerville, Aronson, he's a bloody absolute machine. Aronson, good God. And Jack Harrison. And
Jack Harrison, and they're so fast. And the thing that they did was they would get us to turn the ball over high, like how we would try to do in all of our Klopp history that don't bother anymore. But that thing, the reason under pressure exists as under pressure, is the thing that they're doing to us. So, and what happens is they won the ball, they turned the ball over high, and then 5 of them would sprint at the same time. And we have 1 or 2 running back at the time. And so they get 2.5 times the number of sprints just from that one moment.
Yeah. But you can see
their first goal is a perfect opportunity. It's the perfect example.
Dan, can I just so we don't have any hindsight bias here, can we just say that we all liked this setup? We all liked this team before the game. Are we agreed on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to see more rotations, to be honest, since after the Ajax match, but I can't massively complain. I would really like to see Canate play.
The only change would have been Canate for Gomez for me. Maybe Henderson for Elliott. But can you imagine a lot of Liverpool fans saying that? But
maybe Carvalho for Firmino. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I would like to have seen more rotations personally, Rhodesy. But yeah, overall, you can't have huge complaints, no.
I just thought at home with this team, I thought having Thiago back in alongside Fabinho, who's one of my favourite Liverpool midfielders, Elliott's performance at Ajax, Nunes, Salah and Firmino are the only attackers we've got. Trent and Robbo, and then, like I said, Canate was the one that I thought maybe, but like before the game, I thought, fine, that's a quality side. That's it. That's plenty enough to beat Leeds. And then when you see the physical output data, and I'll come on to the match summary, which has a little bit of a twist, but
go on, do your match summary, Rhodesy.
Well, a little bit of an experiment here. You've got 42 penalty box touches to 18. We edged them on the big chance to 3-2. The shots on target, we've got 10-6. We haven't lost a game with 10 shots on target under Klopp. 22 shots to 14. Now, conceding 14 shots at home is very rare. I think we've only done it, 11 times. And not lost any of those. Lost one of those, I think, to Man City. But the non-penalty XG is 2 to 1.7. And we conceded 2 big chances. We had 3 big chances. But again, it's the game state. We gave them a goal after 3 minutes, and then they had another big chance after 20 minutes. I know we'd equalised by then, but they could have gone 2-1 up.
Yeah.
And it's a save from Alisson. So it's just a mess of, Dan, if I said to you, what is your basis for a stats line? If you've got 42 touches in the box to 18, you take that all day long. If you're having 10 shots on target, you take that all day long. If you're having 2 non-penalty XG, you take that. 3 big chances, you can take that.
Yeah.
But we are still at relegation levels of defensive performance.
It is. And it's really important to emphasise this to people listening. Since the Everton match, which is 8 games now, this team is the second worst defence in the Premier League. Only Fulham has a worse defence, and it's marginal.
And if you take into the context of the whole, we've had a successful Champions League qualification process where we've gone through. We might still win it, but it's not going to happen. But second in the group, we've had 17 games this season. 11 games. I posted on UP Group earlier. 11 games this season. We've had a 0 big chance difference or negative. In 8 of them, it's been negative. 3 of them has been 0. If you are not, it's 0.14 shot quality for the opposition. For every single shot that they have, they're having half a big chance with every single shot. So if you concede 14 shots, they're going to score 2.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
So, and every game we play is essentially very, very close now on the shots and on the XG and on the big chances. So every game is essentially down to, on the day, which team takes its chances.
Yeah.
And that determines the match result.
That's a lottery, Dan.
Yeah, it's called a coin flip. Yeah. So so we are not, our process is
We're playing roulette. We're playing roulette.
We're a 50-50 team now.
Black or red, who wins?
Because our process is now medium. On the attacking side, the process is decent. It's probably top 5 in the Premier League. Yeah. On the defensive side, we are bottom 3.
But I'd say bottom 2, and bottom a lot, because like we analysed last week, we had a look at the teams that have been relegated in 18th, and our big chances conceded were a lot worse than any team that's been relegated in 18th.
Yeah.
So for next week, I might have a look at the team that finished bottom, because we might be the worst team for conceding big chances this season. Yeah. And I think we might be the worst team for the kind of overall shot quality of chance that we're conceding. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
So we ended up mid-table, and we're kind of fortunate to be there.
Yeah. I mean, people will say, we could have won this game. Yeah, we could, because we had enough chances to have won this game. But it was also not a surprise, based on the numbers, that we lost this game. We could have easily drawn a game because there's no control over the process.
Well, we didn't create anything until after the 60th minute, while they got all of their XG.
Yeah,
they could have been 2 or 3 up by that stage before we created big chances.
Yeah,
all our XG came after the 63rd minute when Curtis Jones came on and Henderson.
Did it?
Well, the Salah goal, apart from the Salah goal.
No, you've got the Firmino big chance, 37% chance. You've got the Salah goal, 49% chance. So that's 0.9 XG before the 15th minute.
So at 60, they were 1.52 to 1.09.
Yeah, Leeds were ahead. Yeah, they were ahead. Yeah,
of course,
again, 50% ahead.
Yeah. So, but the point is, Si, is that we're not controlling matches.
No, not at all.
We say it's the result, so it makes the result random based on who takes their chances on the day. And we could have easily been 2-1 up in this game. We missed our chances, and then Leeds punished us later on. So when they and then win the result, and it's really that simple at the moment. Rhodesy, did you finish your match summary?
I did. The season summary is, interestingly, we have had 2.82 big chances, across all comps, and we've conceded 2.82 big chances. So we're just absolutely bang on mid-table. Our non-penalty XG for the first time this season has dropped below 2, 1.98 to 1.3. 0.69 is just about scraping Champions League. And unfortunately, our shots look good, but we're not having quality shots. We're still conceding 0.15 per shot. So if we're conceding 10 shots a game, they're having half a big chance with all those. Ours is at 0.12, which is decent.
Yeah.
And we're having 13 shots in the box every game, which again is decent.
Yeah.
And we're nearly at 7 shots on target a game, which is elite.
Yeah.
But we're conceding 4.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the 4 that we're conceding are high quality chances. Because we're conceding 3 big chances a game. We are relegation level defensive.
So do you know we've been level, right? 17 separate points in the Premier League this season, right? Do you know what the split of goals is for go-ahead goals for us or the opposition out of those 17? Do you want to have a guess, Rhodesy?
I'd say we've gone ahead for 5 times and gone behind 12.
Bang, boom, you've read the data.
I haven't read the data. That's an
amazing guess. That's an amazing guess. It is. It's 12-5 to the opposition in 616 minutes. So we've gone behind 12. There's every 51 minutes we've gone behind. It's just appalling.
Yeah, it's relegation levels, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I add to what Dan was saying about our goals, the difference between our goals?
Yeah.
Right. This, not just this season, but for the last 19 league games, just talking league games here, if we extrapolate, or no, let's go for the rolling 10. Our rolling 10 has us scoring over the course of the season 76 goals, right? 76 goals has won the league 8 times. 70 is the average for a second place team. 46 conceded is what we're looking at so far, and 46 has only been in the top 4 out of 26-year Premier League seasons. Has only been in the top 4 6 times. So that's out of 124 occasions, 6 times has been in the top 4.
Wow.
It's not a good. We're a mid-table at best defense, but mid-table with literally the best goalkeeper in the world, statistically the best goalkeeper in Europe right now.
Yeah,
and he has literally saved us 6.9 goals, and the next highest is 4.5 in the whole of Europe.
That's mad, isn't it?
I've been through like in granular detail each post shot that he saved us in specific games, and in games where the game is in the balance, either 1-0 or 0-1 or 0-0 or a draw, that he has saved 8.9 post shot XG.
Wow, incredible.
So, like, what I had that hyperbolic statement that we would be bottom.
Yeah.
I don't think it's hyperbolic.
Well, we've conceded 13 goals. Now add another 6 to that. And I'm thinking about you conceding. Now because they weren't conceding 19 goals, and Jesus Christ, 12. It's 1.5 per game. You don't win many games. You don't win many games with defenses performing like that. But
also in specific circumstances for this season in specific games, we've got. Against Palace, he saved 0.7 post shot and 2 big chances when the game was first 1-0 down and then 1-1. Against United, which we went on to lose anyway, but he saved 1.17 XG post shot in that game and 2 big chances. So we could have got hammered, but it didn't make any difference to get to obviously to points. Against Everton, he had 0.81 post shot. From a 0.64 chance from Mope, which that's an extra.
That was 0-0.
Yeah. Brighton, he had 2 at 1-0 down, and we ended up drawing the game.
Yeah.
2 big chances, 1.27 post shot.
Yeah. That was the brilliant one from Trossard where he went full length and he stuck it with his foot, didn't he?
Yeah, 0.99. 0.99.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Unbelievable. Against West Ham, he had 5.
Yeah.
And we drew that game.
Yeah.
And he had 2.2 post shots.
We won it 1-0. We won it.
We won it. It didn't feel like
we won. Yeah, we won. 3. You're right. We won. So that's 3 points. So that's 5 points there in just in those games.
Well, I think if you had a player of the season votes, right, he would be the only person on the ballot.
There'll be some wanky dickhead stuff about Harvey because he's a child.
No,
you're right. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. It's not close.
Nobody else would be. Everybody else would be so embarrassed to be on the ballot. They just say no. I'm not. Yeah, it's just give it to Ali.
Diaz is the only other one that people might.
And then yeah. Okay, right. So we need to talk about Joe Gomez, right? It was a blind pass, right? He didn't look.
Maybe I'm a Joe Gomez fan.
Yes, that's why I'm asking you, because it's hard for you.
In all honesty, so I don't know if I'm being biased about this. I looked at the goal. I've looked at it about 50 times. And from, like, if you take Ali out of the way, right, completely out of the way, Gomez passed the ball to the apex of the 6-yard box at a speed you could deal with by any goalkeeper could deal with that.
Yeah. He passed it to a zone.
He passed into a zone that the goalkeeper should be in. He would expect his goalkeeper to be in.
Yeah.
His goalkeeper wasn't in.
Yeah. I agree with this guy. I agree.
But even then, Ali had just moved because he's Ali and he's brilliant. He read the situation and he went to make a slightly better angle for Joe. And then he slipped over. And if any of those, if he hadn't moved because he's a brilliant goalie, and he just stayed where a goalkeeper should, nothing happens. If he hadn't have slipped, he'd have still managed to get the ball. But it sounds like I'm not a Virgil van Dijk fan. Virgil van Dijk is a god of a footballer.
Yeah.
Historically, he's a god of a footballer. Rodrigo was a meter behind him. He touched the ball. He was 12 meters ahead of Virgil, and Virgil didn't even break into a jog.
I wish you could read my notes. Yeah, I think you have read my notes. What is he doing? Why is he so flat-footed there?
Well, he's ball watching, isn't he?
He's just watching the ball. And then he actually looked for offside. He looked at the lino.
Yeah, because he's panicking then. Yeah, he's ball watching, which is the thing which he never does, ever, until recently. But, right, so if you are Leeds opposition analysts, I think this is the more brutal thing about Joe Gomez, is they've clearly given their entire team instructions about us. He was the only player in possession. They never pressed him. And as soon as he gave the ball to somebody else, they swarmed everybody else in the team and they just let Joe have the ball. It was brutal.
Yeah. They were doing 2 things. They were blocking an angled pass into Trent. So they were blocking any space that Trent might have to make a big pass, a switch or a play down into Mo's zone. So they were blocking the angle, so there was no point passing to him. And then they were blocking off. They were having 2 players on Thiago at all times.
Yeah.
So
Aronson was one of them, and he was an absolute wasp. Yeah.
Yeah. So they made it hard for Joe. I think that moment apart is not terrible. But yeah, Joe's had 130 touches in 2 games in a row.
Can we
just allowing him the ball?
Can we just reverse this, Dan? Because Elliott makes a really poor, and then this is what I was talking about earlier in the Ajax game. Elliott goes to press the Leeds player, it's like the cross between the middle and final third of the pitch. Absolutely dives in, and Leeds just pass it around him, and then we leave an easy structure for Leeds to pass through. Gomez comes across, he makes the tackle, he wins the ball, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you talk about the goal again?
Yeah, and then he just flicks, and then he kind of flicks it back into the area.
Yeah.
And I have heard so much criticism for Gomez for this goal.
It's an opener. It's about 3 minutes, and it's an opener. But
Imagine how many times we were talking about earlier with Si's muscle memory about the 4-3-3. Players pass it back into an area where they expect someone to be.
Yeah.
And someone wasn't there. Now, that's Alisson trying to help him out and then slips, as I said. But even then, Rodrigo is 2 yards behind Van Dijk, and Van Dijk stands still.
Yeah.
But I think it's a combination, as we always talk about, a combination of it's little error to big error.
Well, I think you're being very generous there. I would go with 80% Joe, 10 Ali, 10 Virg.
Yeah, I completely disagree.
Okay. And we don't want to pile on, right? But I'm just saying, I think it was egregious because he didn't look up and he passed it blind. When he made an assumption that Ali was going to be there, isn't
that what they're trained to do?
Yeah. Well,
Ali should have been there. He didn't put it in a risky spot. He passed it back to his goalie, who had a ton of space. He wasn't there. So you wonder if there was a call. If I don't know. It
wasn't a percentage
saying
play.
That Joe isn't complicit. I don't think he made a mistake, but he is complicit.
Okay. So Dan, what I'm saying is, do we want our players to think even more? Surely they should be doing what they've always done, which is
I would say to you there though, if you're uncertain, put it out for throw-in.
Yeah.
He wasn't uncertain. It was an easy pass.
Yeah.
He'd done the hard bit.
It was a fantastic assist. Yeah.
It's just madness. Those things are going against us right now. That's the thing. And our success is built on the brilliance of Ali, the brilliance of Virgil, Fab being an absolute rock, and the brilliance of our attack.
Yeah.
Mainly the genius of Mo, right? But also the brilliance of Mane and greatness of Bobby at his best, or whatever, over the years. But what we needed, what we've always had, is nobody better one-on-one than Virgil, but Virgil sniffs out danger better than anybody else. So there was no chance of a little error costing us a big chance, because Virgil already knew it was going to happen and stopped it before it happened.
I think,
and that has completely gone.
100%.
And so I think this is not Virgil's fault, but the fact that he isn't Virgil anymore is the single biggest factor in Liverpool's demise.
he's just a normal defender now.
Yeah, and the drop off from having him as the one of the great centre backs of all time, and now him being just a centre back, I think that drop off is much greater than anything else on the pitch in terms of what our actual results are.
I think it's a fair point. Absolutely fair point.
I'd say the same point with Fab's side.
He sniffs danger before it gets to a through ball. You're right, but once they get around our back line, Virgil already.
This
you're right. I think you're right about Fab. But you were right a couple of weeks ago. You were talking about it, and I hadn't really noticed. But he's not the same at all.
Yeah. Now we can't even get in the position to do the tactical fouls. He's that far behind the play.
It's weird.
Which is what he did so brilliantly against Man City.
Yeah.
But that was a more compact formation, so it's not the same context. But
so just to finish off on Gomez, right, Rhodesy, I think I was going to say, if it hadn't been for the West Ham and Forest games previously where he had pretty poor games in both, if this had just been the first time it happened, I don't think we'd have heard too much about Joe. But because it was the third bad Premier League game in a row for him, I think it's...
Yeah.
He's not in good form, is he?
I thought
the on-ball stuff was more damning the way that Leeds managed him.
I think it was really fair about how bad Gomez was in previous games, and he highlighted his individual errors. I just think this one in particular wasn't as bad as people are making out in terms of. I don't.
It wasn't as bad as some of the errors against West Ham, for instance. No, I don't think.
No. You're like letting a ball fly over your head.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see him against Spurs?
I hope not, for his own sake.
You think we need to play Canate, come what may? Yeah.
Yeah, because if you have a look at the again, Dan.
Do you think we'll see him against Napoli?
No, I think this is more egregious. The Harrison big chance, after being set up from Rodrigo, it's a failed press by Gomez. I haven't.
Yeah, that's from a centre back. Yeah, that's criminal, isn't it?
And I watched it, and he just dives in, and it gets past him. So to me, that's a worse error.
You could be right there. You know, yeah.
He's passing into a zone where he expects his keeper to be. So like what we do when we watch chances over and over again. I'm trying to contextualize it, and I don't think it was 80%. I think it was probably 40% Gomez, 20% Van Dijk, 20% Alisson, 20% Elliott. Oh, that adds up to 110, but 10% Elliott. Well, for the Harrison chance, Gomez dives in.
Yeah, and that didn't even register as an error for Opta, that one. But you said it was a bit of that's a sign that his brain scrambles because isn't it? When he's doing things like that.
Absolutely.
But
to be fair to him, he's gone from nothing to all the matches.
Yeah, he has played a lot this season, hasn't he? Yeah. Si, I just wanted to continue on from the Gomez thing. I think what made it telling for me was Leeds' strategy of not pressing Gomez. Just gave their four forwards. They were all over Virgil when he got the ball. Robbo, Thiago, Fab, Trent, and they cut off the passes, and they were so fast. They made it so difficult for us to build up in our own half. It was incredible.
Our ball retention was absolutely shocking in this game, and so that if you don't retain possession, you create a transition.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what they wanted. We kept giving the ball away because they were just hounding us, and we wanted a little bit more time.
Yeah,
and it just created havoc. They're very fast.
Yeah.
At one point 3 years ago, I said we were the fastest team in the world. We're not the fastest team in the country anymore. They were lightning.
Did you see the Leeds passing network? Did you see the Leeds passing network I put in the chat before?
I didn't, but I have seen it.
Yeah, it's like one of those ones where you look at it and you think, we've seen loads and loads of passing networks, and all of a sudden you think, holy shit, I've never seen anything like that. It's completely unique.
Dan, describe it for those that haven't seen it.
It's like a triangle with lots and lots of lines pointing left and right and upwards towards 5 players at the point of a triangle. It's just bonkers.
Because they were interchanging so much.
Yeah, with the front four basically played every position, right? Yeah. So their average position all turned out to be high and central.
But their positions weren't any position. Their position was somebody needs to fill this space to press Trent. Somebody needs to fill this space to cut out the pass into Fab. Somebody needs to fill this space to prevent Thiago getting the ball. But then somebody also needs to be in front of Thiago to block him once he turns.
The only structure was the fullbacks and the centre mids, wasn't it? That was that was their structure, and in front of that, it was just basically chaos.
Yeah. They wanted chaos. We used to excel in basketball games, and now we're terrible at them.
And Ox didn't even get a sniff when he used to excel in these kind of games.
That's one of the things I'm not quite getting right now.
Yeah.
Is he fit enough to be on the bench? Then he's not. Then we're only using 3 subs in the tiniest for 80 minutes between them in the most exhausting period in history.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
Yeah. Should we talk before we do the horror story? Should we do the nice equaliser? Technically, this goes down as a set piece, doesn't it? Because Trent puts in the initial ball, goes all the way through. Robbo puts it straight back in, and Mo's. I thought he did well because I thought it was Bobby in front of him or Fab was going to look like it put him off, but then he just.
Yeah, Fab was in front of him. Mo was, and Bobby was just about to head the ball. But no chance that would have gone in. Yeah, and it was a lovely finish. So his boot
was above his shoulder, wasn't it? I think
Trent passed that to Mo. Mo stood 2 up at the back post and laid it back off to Trent, who then slotted it to Robbo. And from that outside the box, Mo bust his balls to get goal side of the fullback of the centre back, and ahead of Bobby, who was stood there the whole time.
Yeah.
He was desperate for that goal.
Yeah.
Robbo has been our best player probably for the last 2 matches. It's nice that he's actually in form, because I think he's had a year without being in form.
Yeah. He was the only one outfielder who looked like at a decent level in this match, wasn't he? Well, I suppose Salah had a decent game as well. Maybe not his normal Leeds level performance, though.
For stats fans, Dan, are you aware whether this goal goes down as a set-piece goal?
Yes, it is. It is a set-piece goal.
Seriously? It's phases, isn't it?
Yeah, because they never clear it, and all our big men are still in the box, because Trent pings it across and then Robert puts it straight back in. Just
for people watching, because the cross is too long, Mo picks it up, gives it back to Trent. Trent crosses, that's too long. Robbo picks it up.
Yeah.
It's kind of a third phase situation, but it still goes down as a set-piece goal.
So the way I always try to get people to visualise it, if the centre-backs, the opposition centre-backs, are still in the box because danger's never been cleared, it's still it's still going to go down as an Opta set play goal, because that's the differentiator, having those big men in the box.
I knew you'd know. I just wanted to explain it for people.
The phase, yeah. And then as soon as the danger gets cleared, then the centre-backs retreat, don't they?
Of course. And it was never cleared. It never got past the apex of the 18-yard line, did it?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So, it looks like, we get the equaliser, Rosie, and for all intents and purposes, you think, right, we're going to go on here, we're going to kick on.
Did you? Good on you.
Well, based on what's previously happened against Leeds, anyway, historically happened against Leeds, but it was poor. The rest of that half was poor, Rhodesy.
Oh, it was just lack of control, like you said. It was a basketball team taking advantage of our lack of legs, their pressure on us.
Yeah.
They didn't create much.
No.
There was the Harrison chance, that I've talked about before, where there's a failed press from Gomez and Alisson saves it, so he saves another big chance. And that was it. They had their 2 big chances in the first 20 minutes. But yeah, of course, we didn't do anything either.
Yeah.
Was it not the Núñez chance? Was the Núñez chance in the first half?
The one where it was the 1-on-1, the Salah plays him in.
Yes.
No, that was.
That's the second half.
It's about 60 odd minutes, I think, that one.
67 minutes. Sorry.
So there was a couple of ones. First of all, Leeds get charged with an error size. Salah does the Cancelo thing again, doesn't he? I think was it Cooper?
Yes, that's the Núñez chance, isn't it?
That is the Núñez one, is it?
Yes, that's the one where he
spins him. He spins Cooper, doesn't he? Halfway inside the Leeds half.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly that.
Yeah. And then he lays it off to Núñez. He's on his strong foot. And Meslier, he does lift it, but Meslier comes out and closes the angle. And it's just, he does, but he doesn't play it on the floor. He does lift it. It's just not quite enough.
Yeah. There's the Núñez chance from outside the box when he curls it in the top corner, and that's a really good save.
Yeah, that's about 70 minutes, is it? But that's that's the thing, he's raw, there's lots of. But if you're going to go and make yourself a hero and you're going to win games and you're going to get established, they're the chance. You've got to take that chance. You've got to. Well,
it's a nice flick on by Trent for this chance. This is our other big chance, and it deflects kindly because Moore takes it. Just absolutely rolls Cooper like he does to Cancelo. And the weight of the pass is perfect, and he's again like the Ajax one. These are the ones that he's got to be taken. We hate the comparisons with Haaland, but these are the ones that Haaland's taken.
Yeah,
you've done a brilliant analysis of Núñez.
I put it out from the account, so it's just that
virtually every line down is underneath either normal or his own.
Yeah, I mean he's above any. At the moment low minutes still, but attract him against to check out from the under pressure account again. We put him in comparison against Harry Kane, 5-year average for Harry Kane, and he's above Kane on nearly every in terms of shots, XG, per 90 at the moment and stuff like that. But he's still underperforming his own XG. I think he's about 1 goal under his XG now, and he's about 1.5 goals under his XG on target. He's just got to get a little bit more. He's got to get a little bit more clinical, Rhodesy.
Si, I'm more interested in your opinion, because you're the more cynical or critical.
We all want everybody to do well.
I love his numbers. His numbers to me come across as like world-class elite.
Raw potential.
But also raw. Si, what are you seeing? Because you mentioned some things that you were impressed with, either with his pace or what are you seeing?
He's lightning quick. Before the season, I told you that his Portuguese coaches said he was like Batistuta. His shooting, the quality of his shooting from a technical perspective of his foot touching the ball, Batistuta. It looks beautiful.
It's ball striking.
It's just going straight at the goalie.
Yeah.
He is not calm.
No.
Yeah. What a good.
He is a maniac. And
he's not zen, is
like
he?
A maniac. I am not having any more Luis Suarez comparisons. It's absolute utter bullshit. He has to earn something before he gets compared to one of the great players of our lifetime.
I agree.
And I am currently of the opinion that he is. If you remember Divi when he first arrived, he was one of the best young talents in the world. He was 17. And he was the fastest player on the pitch. He could go either way. He could dribble. He theoretically was good in the air. Not that we ever saw him head the ball, apart from against Pickford. But even now, like Nunes, he's got 42% aerial duels. And he's a giant. I'm like, what? Just head the ball, you pussy. I don't know what he is.
I know you don't.
It feels a little bit like. It feels a little bit like,
but it's not Suarez.
Peter Crouch, weirdly.
No.
That Peter Crouch had these physical qualities, and he spent his whole life trying not to use them because he wanted to be Maradona.
I think
Peter Crouch averaged about 1.7 shots per game.
Yeah.
No. I'm like in the air. Peter Crouch should head all the time, and by the end of his career, he was brilliant in the air. But when he was playing for us, he was spending his whole life on his ass trying to do scissor kicks.
I think
the way I would sum it up, Rhodesy, is he just needs to play. He just needs to play. He just needs to play minutes.
Calm down.
Yeah, and then I think
exactly that.
Yeah,
I think we need 2,000 minutes. We need to see that he's still doing 5 shots a game. We need to see that he's still like. I did an analysis of his big chance. He's having 2 big chances a game. He needs to be neutral on his XG, even though he's got a lot of shit shots. He needs
to be minimum neutral on his XG.
He can't be taking nearly 6 shots a game and
underperforming. If he's doing that and he's underperforming his XG, the team is in trouble.
I'm saying it's not about more. I'm saying if he's having two big chances a game in the Premier League, that is fine.
Yeah, he's got to score them.
Everybody else,
he's got to be at least neutral in terms of his scoring rate.
Of course, he has to score them, but this feeds into what Si says.
Otherwise, the team will suffer.
This feeds into what Si says about calm the fuck down. He's not calm.
Well, yeah, I don't think it helps. Everybody's like a cat on a hot tin roof at the moment, aren't they? Right, and so we're
not that. So we're trying to dig into it.
So, Si, we saved the worst till last. After the horror show of figuring out that Leeds had double our sprints and 11 kilometres more than this total distance, I asked you to pull together as much data as you can in terms of our season performance, match by match, for distance, high speed and sprints, and also our context with the Premier League, previous seasons, and our rank within the Premier League. And you've done it for us.
Yeah.
So the first things first, definitions, right? What's the difference between high-speed run and a sprint?
So high-speed run is anything above 19 kilometers an hour, basically. Is between 19 kilometers an hour and 25 kilometers an hour. So we're talking meters.
And the sprint is over 25 meters, 25 kilometers an hour is sprint.
Yeah. Okay. 25 kilometers an hour is a sprint.
Thank you. So, the consensus this season is that we are significantly diminished. What did you find?
We are significantly diminished. So what a Liverpool team looks like, the thing you think of, not the thing you see on TV right now, but the thing that Klopp manifested, was ranked number one in the league for high-speed meters per game and number one in the league for number of sprints per game, right? And so for 4 of the previous 5 seasons, we averaged 1.7 in the league for those two things. And for those two things, we currently rank 14th.
Say again, 14th?
14th. We average 14th between high-speed running and sprints. We are 16th in the league in the volume of sprints. And we were first, 6th during the terrible season with the injuries because we had to stop and we had Nat Phillips, and 3rd last season, but that was a game state thing more than anything. Plus we had 2 lunatic teams that never stopped running. And this season, there are 4 teams worse than us.
That's absolutely horrific, Si.
Horrific. They're like
it's almost embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely. Distance covered is the headline number that people see that occasionally leaks onto the screen in some kind of guise, but that has lots of factors in, and you can walk. You literally so in 96 minutes, the average person can walk 9K in that period, in that time, and that's basically the distance that Virgil covers in a game, or it's 2 kilometers more than Ronaldo covers in a game. And that's not a lie; it's true.
That's brilliant. So not even walking. I love it.
So peak, we have the highest distance per play for a player covered in the game is 13.6 kilometers, which is, I think it was something like Dendonka or some one of those goons last year. The under Klopp, we've had Milner's had 13 3 times. Lallana's had 13 the day after he covered 12.9. If you remember, it was like Middlesbrough and Sunderland.
Hasn't Jot had one as well?
New Year's Day. Yeah.
Bobby's probably had some.
So our peak midfielders usually cover 11.8 to 12.5, depending on the game state.
Yeah.
And game state matters a lot. So total distance, game state matters a lot. When Klopp arrived, he used to talk about 120 kilometers a game.
Yeah.
And we've managed 120 kilometers a game, 13 matches, and they were nearly all 2 or 3 ago. And that's not. And the game has moved on. How we understand match demands, physical match demands, is changing all the time. And instead of talking total volume of distance covered, we're talking about the biggest correlation from a physical perspective in who wins is who's the most sprints.
Yeah.
That's the single biggest correlation. And
it also isn't something you always said from your time inside elite sports dressing room side. Isn't it the macho thing as well? It's the number one thing that the players buy into. The sprints is the thing that's pinned on the wall.
Oh my God, board. They love it. They want to know after every training session who reached the highest speed and who did the most sprints.
Yeah, and sprint meters is the macho thing as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then that's the thing where we've fallen off most. We are ranked 16th in the league for sprints per match this season, and 11th for high speed distance. It's just
if you just think for a second from a tactical perspective, that we used to be like having 6 fighter jets bombing on at the back foot every moment of the game. It would make their heads spin. They were the fastest players they'd seen, and they're all coming from different angles at the same time, wreaking havoc.
Yeah,
we now jog that distance.
So we're now like the B-52s.
There is no havoc caused.
So big lumbering aircraft instead.
Oh my God!
A-10 tank busters. They're just really immobile, slow. Oh my God! Right. Okay. So then the $64,000 question site is why? Why is there such a drop off in sprints and high speed?
It was, I think, a combination of the stuff we talked about from last season, playing too much, and it's like a mental fatigue. So it's taken the edge off. I have to do this to win because I have this insane hunger to be the greatest.
Yeah.
Even when I'm tired, I've got this I can go the extra inch. No matter what, I think that's gone. They don't have that mental state anymore. And I think they're a bit tired. Yeah. And they're definitely old. They got old quick. And game state issues are going on.
Yeah, and injuries and no rotations.
I also think subsequently caused a tactical thing.
Yeah.
But everybody has the schedule.
Yeah.
I think the change in tactics has been we weren't in the places we usually were on the pitch at any given moment from a timing perspective, and then they look at the numbers and see we're just not covering the meters we need to at the right speed. So one of the metrics that you have as a football coach is meters per second covered. So each player has the number of meters per second. So somebody covers 6.7 meters per second through their 96 minutes on the pitch, or like a top player gets 7.8 meters per second on the pitch. Yeah. So that would be basically they're never less than 10K than running 10 kilometers an hour. They're never lower than that. But it's always about little bursts all the time. So and what they will have seen is that they're dropped way below their threshold, their normal threshold for individual players. And that is causing instability in our structure, causing us holes. We have to try to solve this to get players where we need them to be. So they've changed the tactics, dropped them deeper, and we're choosing to not sprint now as well. We're not able to do the volume of sprinting, and we're choosing to not do it from a top-down perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's like half.
Yeah. It's like, well, we're seeing that in the pressing. We're not chasing well into deep into the opposition half. We're not doing it anymore.
And if you look at also, there's another. So the number of our midfield retrievals have gone up compared to our attacking third, but then also Ali's whatever they call it, outside the penalty area,
sweep contributions. Yeah,
they've dropped at 1 point. They've dropped 1.5 per game down to 1.8 from 3.3.
Nice spot. Yeah, that's something I haven't seen before. Nice. Rhodesy, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah. The fact that we give away this podcast for free when people do research like that and get data like that is absolutely scandalous.
But I think it's fair to say we'll be putting some stuff out from the accounts summarising this position, won't we?
No, it's just a brilliant summation of where we were, how we were, how we've evolved, and what we've ended up as.
And evolution isn't always for the better.
Even with Darwin.
Right. And on that bombshell, that's been your Under Pressure podcast for this week. We will be back next Tuesday, and it's a couple of big ones. It's Napoli and it's Tottenham, and we'll see you then. Cheerio.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index, and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.